Did you know operating an Airbnb or a short-term rental in Corpus Christi actually violates city code? It's true, but a quick search online shows there are hundreds of those types of rentals available.
So what gives you say? Well, it's hard to stifle all the entrepreneurs out there, but the city is struggling to find a way to regulate short-term rentals. Our Bill Churchwell spent the day in Aransas, a city that's already come up with a way to manage those short-term rentals without losing any of the hotel tax revenue. Bill?
Well, the problem here in Corpus Christi is that the city feels like it is missing out on that tax revenue, whereas in Port A, it's not an issue. In a popular tourist town like Aransas, it's no surprise that most of the properties are made up of short-term rentals. Those homes or condos that are rented out for less than 30 days.
We saw our short-term rentals increasing exponentially.
A search on Airbnb turns up over 1,000 such properties that are available, but the number registered with the city is actually well over 3,000.
Taking a page from a few other cities, not only in the state but also across the country, we might be able to do a little bit better job of managing what I refer to sometimes as that summer chaos.
Planning and Development Director Rick Adams says to deal with any safety issues like overcrowding, he wrote up an ordinance intended to make it clear to visitors and owners of the properties what was expected on their part.
And we also required that there be a 24/7 contact number that could respond within 1 hour of any issue, be it a noise complaint, a parking complaint.
He says a registration number is also required for each short-term rental, something that helps make sure those properties are paying the hotel-motel tax and also helps with preventing rental scams.
The registration, pretty much helped find those folks that might have been under the radar, that weren't actually registering the properties as they were supposed to.
And while Adams says well over 85% of the city is zoned to allow short-term rentals, there is a small portion where they are prohibited.
It's picking up a lot.
Jackie Johnson lives off of Channel Vista, one of the areas where short-term rentals are not allowed.
Aransas, it's great for the people that have properties that want to rent it, but I'm so glad we don't have it here. It's a lot of party houses.
Now, those regulations in Port A have been in effect a couple of years now, and for those who do not follow the rules, Adams says there can be significant penalties, including the risk of being denied the ability of renting out your property. It is unclear when Corpus Christi City Council members will take another look at any changes to their code regarding short-term rentals. Back to you.
We'll follow that. Thank you, Bill.